does it mean to be cool? Generations of Americans have used the term, but there's been no accepted universal definition. Now, that may be about to change. Derek Thompson is senior editor at The Atlantic. Derek, good morning.
Good morning.
I hesitate to try to define cool because that seems to me almost uncool. But they've made an attempt to do that in a study, haven't they?
They have. Coolness is sort of ineffable. It's sort of like beauty or humor. Everyone has their own definition. If you went around and asked 100 people for a 5-word definition, you'd have 100 answers. None of them would be very good. But what this study did is it said, all right, if we're going to study coolness, we have to define it. So they did. They said it's a measured violation of an illegitimate norm. So what does that mean? We can sort of, I guess, talk about it.
So then I guess what does it mean? Because it seems like in this study, when they did questionnaires, there's like specific rules. I mean, you have to basically break a rule that you think is repressive in some ways. Is that right?
That's exactly right. So, I mean, coolness is a rebellion. It's always a rebellion. And so the question is, are you rebelling against something that people consider illegitimate? You look at something like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Why are most criminals considered degenerates, but Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid considered cool? Well, they weren't robbing single mothers. They weren't slapping children. They were robbing banks. And we consider banks to be faceless, enormous monoliths that aren't particularly cool and can sometimes be illegitimate. So the robbing of the banks is what's considered cool. And so you see there, right there, that the definition that they're using is actually really useful. It's a measured violation of a norm we consider to be not legitimate.
Right, a measured act of rebellion, if you would. So how can that translate, say, in corporate culture?
Right. So you look at a company like Gap. A lot of companies are trying to reinvent themselves and seem cool when they don't have that reputation. So what Gap did, they essentially said, look, we understand our demographic to be a lot of Gen X moms that are leading decision-making for these families. So we need to study who they consider to be cool role models, and they put cool role models for, these sort of women like Lenny Kravitz and Sarah Jessica Parker in their ads, and suddenly people began to associate them, not with the old sort of faceless Gap, but with a new face that they consider to be kind of rebellious in an interesting way.
It's so obvious to see why being cool in the marketplace is beneficial because it makes people want to buy your brand. But can there be a backlash, like you've tried too hard and now I'm turned off?
Yeah, I think you look at a brand like Abercrombie, which in a weird way has been one of the least successful post-recession brands in the country. And I think that what's happening here is that you're seeing something really interesting about brands. Brands are really great signals when you don't have a lot of other competing information. So if I'm making a choice about what toothpaste to use, I have no idea what toothpaste is best for my enamel, so I just buy anything that begins with a C, Colgate, Crest.
Right.
But when I'm making a decision like what phone do I get, where do I go to have brunch, Yelp has a lot of information on this. Amazon has a lot of information on this. The power of the brand is diluted by the flood of information that I'm getting from other statistics. And so brands are really powerful in low information environments, and they're less powerful when I have a lot of information that I can possibly use.
Well, Derek Thompson and Anthony, I think you're both cool.
Thank you.
Thanks, Vanita. We really appreciate that.